I'm gonna destroy the rotten little virus. Find out who planted it in my computer.
Careful. A virus can do a lot of damage.
This episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark deals with viruses, specifically computer viruses. It was released October 1st of 1994. So we got some great old school technology here, complete with floppy disks, computer effects that look like they're from 1984 instead of 1994, and also a love story. This is going to be an episode told by the Midnight Society leader, Gary. He comes into the clearing and explains that his computer got a virus and holds up a floppy disk. Of course, it was his younger brother, Tucker, that was messing around on his computer. And as soon as Gary mentions this, Tucker runs away with a mischievous smile. Since Gary is the more nerdy of this group, of course he's going to tell one about a computer virus. But similar to The Tale of the Pinball Wizard, this is really about two kids who get locked in their school and chased around with various creatures, and way less to do with an actual computer virus. It starts in this school's computer department, where we see a virus flashing on screen with a very rudimentary red warning, and then a skull and bones that we'll see come up many times during this episode. Yeah, they don't have a big budget, so we're not going to see any flashy special effects. What do you think this is, Tron? Jurassic Park came out a year before this. And I think it's disappointing in this episode that while it's about computers, not much of it revolves around computers. It would have been cool to see some early 90s hacking and the kids trying to decode things, but we don't get that here. It starts off with a character named Simon, who wakes up at 7:30 and realizes that he's going to be late to school. He rushes around, he tells his parents he loves them, and even denies his mom when she asks him if she can drive him to school, because Simon has another plan. He's going to steal his friend, well, the person he's bullying, Evan's bike. So it starts off as Simon being the main character, but really Evan is going to be the main character. Since he's the more sympathetic one, Simon's the bad boy. He's the cool guy. And so he steals his frenemies, Evan's bike, and rides it to school. And when Evan finally eventually gets to school, I guess he runs there, Simon has switched the locks on Evan's locker so he can't even get it open. But all this is okay because Evan sees the girl that he's in love with. Her name is Sonia, and he's going to ask her to the big dance. Then when he goes to ask her, who do you think she's going to the dance with? She's going with Simon, of course. This guy is screwing him over left and right. He took his bike to go to school, he changed his locker so he can't get into it, and now he's stealing his chick. But Evan does have a trick up his sleeve, and he goes to Simon and says that he forgives him, and they both go to the computer lab together. And then we see what is supposed to be a virtual reality game. Now, as I mentioned before, we don't really see any computer graphics. We see a headset go over Simon's head. But man, this one just needs a bigger budget, and I think they could have thrown in more special effects. I mean, have him get electrocuted or something like that. At least make it seem like he's going into this virtual reality world. Since really this virtual reality world is supposed to be him transported into the Middle Ages as one of the Knights of the Round Table. They don't even try to do a Middle Ages setup. He's just going to be stuck in this school. And the science teacher, Mr. Poe, who has invented this virtual reality game, tells Simon that he can choose 3 places to go. He can take a trip to the planet Saturn, be one of the Knights of the Round Table, or take a trip to prehistoric times to see the dinosaurs. And he chooses the least interesting one. It's almost like they're messing with us. When I heard them read off these choices, I go, there's no way this episode's going to be able to pull off him going to see dinosaurs. Are they going to use puppets? He's going to go to Saturn? I mean, shouldn't this science teacher know? Saturn's a gas planet, so you can't actually land on it. There's no solid ground for you to walk on. And so it sets us up thinking that we're going to go on this great adventure. At least there's going to be people dressed up like the Middle Ages chasing him around this town. But this virtual reality game just malfunctions. Nothing happens, and instead he goes back home and starts getting chased by this small, here let me use the correct term, midget. No, little person. I don't know what he is, a dwarf who has a brain on the top of his head. I'm not sure what went wrong with this episode. It's not the worst one. It's like they ran out of money or time. Let's do this virtual reality game. We can't do any virtual reality. So, okay, well, let's just have people dress up like the Middle Ages. We'll throw him in the woods and he'll get chased by like King Arthur. We can't do that either. We got a dwarf. Let's just like put a brain on his head and have him chase him around. So the premise of this episode is a lot more exciting than the actual episode itself. You see no virtual reality. He doesn't see the dinosaurs. He doesn't get to fall through Saturn. Doesn't even get to fight the Knights of the Round. We just get a little dwarf chasing him. See, this little dwarf is a evil virus that got into the game. Yeah, I guess that's their excuse of why he can't actually go into this virtual reality world. A virus has gotten inside, or they're just trying to save money. It would have been so much better if they just sent him to an, I don't know, Civil War reenactment. Just film at one of those places, and then the virus could come in. But the fact that you never actually get to see this virtual reality world whatsoever before the virus comes is, as I mentioned, underwhelming. We get a countdown as Simon and Evan have to put their two brains together to figure out how to defeat this computer virus. They hack into the computer, trying to figure out the code that they could type in to make this little dwarf go away. And it actually was Evan this entire time that put this computer virus in. See, Simon was messing with him, taking his chick, taking his bike, taking his locker. Come on, he had to give him some payback, but it got a bit too out of hand. So this episode's going to get a solid 3. As I mentioned, it's underwhelming, but there's at least some interesting ideas. I actually thought the characters in this were really good. The dynamic between Simon and Evan seemed like a more realistic bully, rather than just having the bully show up and like pour ice cream on his head. This is how a bully actually would act in 7th grade. He would kind of push you around. He kind of talk to a girl you didn't want him to. Maybe he might mess with your locker. But the virtual reality thing just doesn't even exist. You just get a dwarf chasing them. The bad boy Simon was played by Christopher Redmond, who is still acting to this day, being in an episode of the Goosebumps. The great movie Ginger Snaps as Ben, K-19 the Widowmaker. And we'll see him again when we cover Masters of Horror. Micaiah Gardner played the character Evan. He's had a much shorter career, his last appearance being an episode of Night Visions in 2002, and was in an episode of Dark Angel and Millennium. Next up is Episode 2, The Tale of the Long Ago Locket, where we go back to the Revolutionary War. And check out our playlist for the other series that we've covered. We do every single episode of Black Mirror, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Twilight Zone, American Horror Story, Monsters Fear Itself, and Cowboy Bebop. And we now have memberships open. Thanks a lot.